Guys, Ben Dorr here, Executive Director with Minnesota Gun Rights, and I have some outrageous news. Outrageous news for the members and supporters of Minnesota Gun Rights. That lighting is not great. Guys, hop on here. You're going to want to hear this. You're going to want to hear this. Guys, Ben Dorr, Minnesota Gun Rights. I'm coming at you live from the Capitol, where 7 o'clock tonight, the House Public Safety Committee is meeting to vote on universal gun registration and red flags gun confiscations. All right? This is the biggest hearing of the year. They're going to try to ram this gun control through and down our throats. And you're not going to want to miss this. You're not going to want to miss this. Share this video right now. If you saw the title, you know what I'm going to talk about. Minnesota Gun Rights, you guys, you and me, have been barred from the committee room. We are not allowed to give testimony on behalf of the thousands and thousands and thousands of gun rights members and supporters that equals Minnesota Gun Rights, you and me. We are not allowed to give testimony in the House Public Safety Committee coming up here in just, what time is it? Just a couple hours. Just a couple hours. And I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to tell you all about all the details, everything that I know. I'm going to tell you all about it right now, guys. Share this video. Make sure your family and friends are watching this. They are not going to let the largest gun rights organization in Minnesota testify against these gun control bills. So here's how this went. They announced these hearings a couple of weeks ago. The moment this was announced, I turned around and fired off an email to the House Public Safety Committee administrator. Said, hi, my name is Ben Dorr. I'm with Minnesota Gun Rights, and I'm not sure how you have this whole thing structured yet for this hearing, but I wanted to make sure that I was put on the list of testifiers on behalf of Minnesota Gun Rights, that we could testify against these gun control bills. So I got an email back from the administrator. Jamal Lundy is his name, and he said, hey Ben, I wanted to let you know that you were the very first person to email us and request to speak against these gun control bills, and we don't know how we're going to structure it yet, but we wanted you to know that if we do a scheduled testimony, your name will be first. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. So, hey, I wanted to make sure that this happened, right? I wanted to make sure that we got to speak on your behalf here tonight. So I have done multiple emails following up with this committee, with the committee, making sure, hey, because there's a lot of people here who don't want us to speak. They don't want Minnesota Gun Rights to be able to talk. They don't want your voices to be heard in this Capitol building. So what did they do? What did they do? So they said it's going to be a ticketed event. It's going to be a ticketed event. So you have to have a ticket to get in the room. And I went, oh shoot, like last year that was it was really tough. Most people couldn't get in the room. So I fired off. I've had multiple phone calls. I called Jason Chavez. Jason Chavez is the Public Safety Committee chairman. Carlos Mariani, that's his legislative assistant. It's his job to sort of coordinate with the administrator and make sure that this committee goes off right? So I talked with Jason Chavez, and I said, what's your suggestion to make sure we get tickets into the room? And he said, what you should do is you should show up really early, a couple hours early at least, and you should be able to get a ticket then. And I said, okay, what happens if I can't get a ticket, just by happenstance? What happens if I can't get a ticket into the room? He said, oh, no problem. He said, just shoot me an email. He said, I'll have my laptop open during the whole committee hearing. He said, just shoot me an email and let me know that you're standing outside and that you're supposed to be able to speak here. I said, sounds good. So for me, that was a wrap. Either I was going to get the ticket or I wasn't going to get the ticket, but either way, I was guaranteed on your behalf to speak on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. And so what happened? I got here, what time is it, Matt? What time is it?
5:30.
5:30. I got here at least 2 hours ago. So 4 hours before the committee was supposed to meet, I got here, went and talked to the sergeant-at-arms, and I said, hey, you know, I'm here to get one of those tickets. And he said, all the tickets are gone. I said, okay. I said, I said, where'd they go? He said, well, they've been disseminated amongst, I said, now explain this to me. And he said, boys, a lot of comments, guys. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for watching. He said, we gave half of the tickets to the Democrats and half of the tickets to the Republicans. And so they get to decide who their priority speakers are. The politicians get to decide who gets to speak, not the public. If your name was first on the list, you don't get to speak. You don't get to speak. Only if the legislators themselves decide you get to speak. Only if they give you permission. And so I went, boy, this is not good. So I thought, you know what? I'll immediately contact Jamal Lundy, and I'll find out what's going on. Matt, get over here. Give me that. So this is what he wrote. Guys, this is my brother Matt. My brother Matt Dorr came up here all the way from Iowa. He sells buildings. Came up all the way from Iowa to stand with the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights and fight on behalf of the Second Amendment here with us. So I pulled out my phone to message Jamal Lundy. And lo and behold, there was an email from him. And what does it say? It says, Ben, the chair has allocated equal amounts of time to both sides. For the proponent side, we will be hearing speakers that the author has prioritized. With the remaining time available, we will hear proponents at a first-come, first-served basis. So he's saying the guy, Dave Pinto, who introduced this bill, he gets to speak first, and then all of his proponents, all of his friends get to speak after that. And then if there's any remaining time, the public will get to speak. There's not going to be remaining time. For the opponent side, that's us, we will be hearing speakers that the minority has prioritized. So these GOP lawmakers, they get to decide who gets to speak.
What a joke.
He gets to decide. Says, with the remaining time available, we will hear proponents at a first-come, first-served basis. This is in keeping with what has been done in the past and is at the request of the minority. The minority party. The Republicans have requested that this committee be structured this way. And I went, boy, this isn't good. And then he says, Ben, as I stated, the committee will hear your testimony first. Thank you for contacting our committee, Jamal Lundy. And I went, woo! All right, hey, he's going to honor their commitment. They're going to let me speak first on behalf of gun owners, on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. Hey, there we go. Wow, oh, good. Dodged that bullet. And, oh, look, there's another email from Jamal Lundy, and it's the exact same email, but it says, Ben, see the amended email below. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can't. Maybe not. See that bolded part right there? He boldens it, so everything reads the same, except it says, Ben, as I stated, the committee will hear your testimony first after hearing from the minority priority testifiers. After hearing from the ones that the politicians have prioritized. Here you go. Thanks for that.
What a joke.
So what did I do? I went right over to Brian Johnson's office. Brian Johnson is the GOP lawmaker who is the lead on this committee. He was the former chair of this committee. So I went over to him. And again, guys, this is the same guy who ran away from Minnesota gun rights last year, who sprinted out of the state office building when we asked him questions about stand your ground law. And then they had hearings on gun control shortly after. So he's no friend. He's no friend. I went over and I talked with him. I went over there and I talked with him. And what did he say? What did he say? Oh, well, I have no idea. I have no idea. You know, we can't get, blah, 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 blah. It was all double talking nonsense. Matt, pull up MGR on your phone there. I want to see some of the comments here so I can read it. This is an absolute outrage. An absolute outrage. This, guys, is a total trampling of your First Amendment rights. And so they're going to sit there and say, well, we said the mic will be open to any testifiers after the minority party's prioritized speakers speak. But guys, if they've taken all of the tickets, we can't get in the room. So even if the mic opened up, we can't even get in the room to testify. This was a 100% outrageous hit by Minority Leader Kurt Daudt and by Paul Gazelka. See, because guys, here's how this goes. Here's how this goes. Don't you hear this all the time? Oh, Minnesota gun rights, they must be scammers. They don't even testify in committee. They don't even testify against gun control bills. And so now tomorrow, when Minnesota gun rights members and supporters don't get a voice in the committee hearing tonight, these legislators are going to run around going, see, we told you Minnesota gun rights was a bunch of fakers. They never even testified against the gun control bills when they set up the rules so that we couldn't even get in the room. You see how this works? Unless you go down there and kiss these politicians' backsides, unless you are buddy with a bunch of legislators, unless you have kissed the ring, you don't get to speak. You don't get a voice. You don't get a voice. This, guys, was not an attack on gun rights by the Democrats. This was 100% the work of Kurt Daudt and Paul Gazelka, who has been feeling the heat from gun owners every moment of this legislative session, been feeling the heat to stand up on behalf of the Second Amendment. They have stabbed us in the back time and time again, and now they won't even let the largest grassroots gun rights organization in this state speak on behalf of law-abiding gun owners. They won't even let Minnesota gun rights in the room. They won't let you and I in the room. I'm seeing a lot of comments, corruption and violations. You're darn right. That's exactly what's happening here. They have totally rigged this entire thing to make sure we don't speak. You know why? Because we tell the truth. Because we tell the truth. We say Democrats are doing this and Republicans are doing that. We tell the truth. And they don't like that. We don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like what we do. I'm speechless. I don't know what else to say here. You know, normally in committees, individuals who speak on behalf of large amounts of people, right? Lobbyists or directors of certain organizations, they usually get prioritized first, right? If we're going to speak on behalf of large amounts of people, that person usually gets to talk first or is prioritized above, you know, the guy who walked in the door. It just is the way it is. It is the way it is. But not now. Not now. Minnesota Gun Rights is the largest gun rights organization in this state by far and away, and they are not going to let us in that room. They are not going to let us speak. They will not let us testify. Matt, would you grab my papers over there? Well, if they won't let me do it, I'll do it right here on camera, and you can read, you can hear for yourself what I was going to tell the committee. Outrageous. Outrageous. Hold on to that a minute. Here was my testimony against universal background checks. And guys, this is short. This is short because I wasn't going to sit there and play their game, and they knew it. They knew it. Here's what I was going to say. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Ben Dorr. I'm the Executive Director of Minnesota Gun Rights. Yeah, that group that most legislators don't like. I can't begin to tell you how opposed to this bill the members of Minnesota Gun Rights are. I suppose I could sit here all day and talk statistics and tell you all how this state is safer than that state because of this or that law. I could explain how universal background checks haven't saved a single life or lessened crime. I could talk about how, and I list off all these mass shootings that have taken place, weren't deterred because all of these people passed background checks. Or I could explain how this bill is an absolute slap in the face of law-abiding gun owners and an unforgivable undermining of our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. But I won't, because these hearings and this bill are an absolute sham. The chair made it very clear that it was his intention of passing these bills tonight, regardless of any opposing testimony. So all anyone can deduce from this is that this whole committee hearing is a dog and pony show put on for the anti-gunners. So I will just leave you with this. The members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights are extremely unforgiving, and we have very long memories. Any legislator, especially the ones in weak districts, will face the full force of the political fury of mobilized gun owners in their districts at election time if they support this legislation in any way. Minnesota gun rights will make sure of that. Thank you. That was my testimony against universal gun registration. We're going to go right through red flags. And this stands. You legislators who are sitting here trying to crush gun owners' voices right now, this will not be forgotten. This will not be forgotten. Here's my testimony against red flag gun seizure legislation. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, again, my name is Ben Dorr. I'm the director of Minnesota Gun Rights, and once again, the members and supporters of Minnesota Gun Rights are utterly opposed to this garbage legislation. Once again, I could sit here and tell you about how House File 9, red flag gun seizure legislation, is an absolute slap across the face of Minnesota's best citizens, law-abiding gun owners. I could tell you about how this bill is nothing more than an attack on our fundamental rights as Americans to due process of law. I guess I could sit here and tell you about how this bill destroys the American ideal of innocent until proven guilty. I could tell you about how this law would destroy people's lives and families in divorce court as angry exes call one another and claim that their ex is dangerous. I can tell you about how criminals will not be thwarted by the stupidity contained in this legislation. I could even explain how every state in America already has a 72-hour hold on the books that addresses real concerns, allowing law enforcement to intervene when someone is threatening themselves or making violent threats to others. I could explain that what you're proposing here has already proven to be deadly in states like Florida and Maryland, where a peaceful man was shot and killed at 5 o'clock in the morning by law enforcement officers who were put in the terrible position of having to seize that man's firearms because of a random ERPO. But I won't, because once again, the push to pass House File 9 is completely agenda-driven, designed to take this radical legislation and shove it down the throats of Minnesota's best citizens. Again, the chair published before this meeting his intention of passing this legislation regardless of opposing testimony, and gun owners will not sit idly by and allow this to happen. Minnesota gun rights supporters are fighters, and we're going to fight this legislation through every step of this process. And again, any legislator, especially the weakest members of either party, will face the full political fury of motivated gun owners at election time for any betrayals of our Second Amendment rights. Thank you. Hand me that phone. Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. But they won't let Minnesota gun rights in the room. They won't let you and me in there. Because I don't know if you're here or if you're going to come here for this. I don't know. But you can't get in there either. Do you have a ticket? Are you best friends with legislators? Have you kissed enough political butt? If not, then you can't get in the room. Guys, this is a direct attack on your right, your First Amendment right, on our rights to speak on your behalf. This is Kurt Daudt and Paul Gazelka and Brian Johnson and the rest of these people on this committee. Oh, and I've tried to call several committee members, find out if they can get me a ticket. Stonewall. They won't let us. They won't let us in the room. Shame on this absolute attack on our fundamental rights to free speech and to bear arms. For those of you just hopping on, they're barring Minnesota gun rights from the room. They have structured this committee so that unless you've kissed enough political butt, you can't get in the room. You can't speak. So they'll sit here and go, oh, it's a public hearing. It's open to the public. Anybody can listen. Anybody can talk. It's a public hearing, don't you know? No, it's not. It just looks like one. It just looks like a public hearing unless you got put on the list. Unless Brian Johnson loves you, unless you've kissed their butts enough, you don't get to speak. All so that these legislators can walk around at the end of the day and say, Minnesota gun rights didn't even show up. They didn't even show up. Didn't show up to speak against this legislation. They're a bunch of con artists. They're a bunch of fakers and scammers. Guys, burn their phone lines down. Remember, and that's the other part of this whole thing. All this hoopla, all this shouting and yelling, we've got to have it right here in the people's house. We got to be able to talk in the people's house. We can't have it over in that school. Well, at least the school would have been public. Oh, but remember what Jamal Lundy said? He said this was at the request of the minority party. The minority party requested, and by minority party, we're talking about the GOP. We're talking about Kurt Daudt. They are the ones who requested that this be set up this way. And so this big dog and pony show, look, Minnesota gun rights, we will testify anywhere. I mean, if it's in the halls of Congress, if it's in the auditorium, if it's in a school, if it's on the street side, we would stand anywhere and fight on behalf of gun owners. We would do it anywhere. We don't care if it's in a school or right here in the Capitol, but they wanted it in the Capitol so they could control the room, because at the end of the day, only the pet organizations are allowed. Only Little Robbie, only Fester, they're lurking around here somewhere. Only the politician-approved organizations get to speak. Only the politician-approved organizations get to speak. Guys, can you hear me? If you can hear me, all right, let me know. A few people are saying they got lost sound. Only the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus gets to speak, because that's the way the politicians want it to be. We don't get to talk. You and I, your voice doesn't get to be heard. Your voice doesn't get to be heard here tonight, because they have structured it this way to keep us out of the room. We did everything that we had to do. We jumped through all the hoops, sent all the emails, got all the approval. Oh, they sent us emails back, said you're going to be first in line. You get to do all this stuff. And now, only once we get here do these smug politicians let us know how it really is. Let us know how it really is. You don't get to talk. Your voice doesn't get to be heard. Your voice doesn't get to be heard. Absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Again, this was not a Democrat hit. This was Kurt Daudt and Paul Gazelka doing everything possible to make sure that I, as the director of Minnesota Gun Rights, that my face doesn't make it on that camera. Because you know what? That might blow all to hell and gone their lies and their deceit about Minnesota gun rights being a sham. Craig says walk into the meeting. Can't do it, Craig. They got armed guards. They got armed guards stand at the door. What are we looking at?
They got a gate.
No, that's the House chamber. No, they have armed guards at the door. You can't get in. You can't get in. Absolutely outrageous. Unbelievable. I mean, this is one of the... all to make sure your voice doesn't get heard. This is the cancer that is Minnesota. This is the cancer that is this building. This is the cancer that are these politicians. On occasion, people sit there and go, Minnesota gun rights, you make too big a deal out of things. Aren't there at least a bunch of good legislators up there? Aren't there a few good guys really fighting the good fight? No. No. These people are all in bed together, because at the end of the day, the Democrats will look really good because they were pushing their gun control bills. At the end of the day, the Republicans, because you'll see it. You'll see Jim Nash stand there, tiny biceps Jim Nash. Jim Nash will sit there all night and rail, this is an absolute attack on our Second Amendment rights. And Marion O'Neill will pipe up. Nasty. She'll pipe up, oh, this is so bad. At the end of the day, all of the Republicans will look really good because they were fighting on behalf of gun owners. And then at the end of the day, Robbie and Brian in the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they'll look real good too because they were sitting there fighting the good fight on behalf of gun owners. Everybody's going to look good. And gun owners, once again, get a knife in the back. It's an absolute disease. It's an absolute disgrace on our state. This is why Minnesota gun rights fights the way we do, because this kind of corruption exists, and they will use it to snuff out your voice. They will use it to crush your ability to stand up for your own rights and your own freedoms. And they will go through the whole hoopla, the big old dog and pony show, just to make them all look good. But hey, don't let Minnesota gun rights speak. No, that would be very bad. That would be very bad. There goes an anti-gunner. Goes an anti-gunner over there. They think it's funny. Anti-gun losers. This place is full of them. I'm not just talking about the activists. I'm talking about the politicians. They're anti-gun losers. Guys, get this out there. Robert says, get it on camera. We can't, guys. The room is closed off. They have that fake icing on the windows. You can't see through. You can't go in. You can't hear. Here's how this is set up. They have the committee room, and then they have an overflow room, which is basically a room where everybody stands and looks at a TV. And then everybody else just stands out in the hallway, doing a whole lot of nothing. That's how this is set up. If you can't get in the room, you get no voice. And you know who holds the gate keys to the room? The Democrats and the Republicans. And unless you have kissed their backsides, hey, if you've been calling them and telling them to do their jobs as legislators, if you've been telling them to do their job as legislators, hey, you don't get to go in. You don't get to go in. You weren't nice. You're one of those not nice constituents. You don't get to go into the room. That's how this is set up. Screw you, gun owners. This is how they have it set up. Help us fight back. This is what we're facing here. If you're not a member, join Minnesota Gun Rights right now, because I'll tell you, nobody is fighting for your rights like we are. You and me, and all these gun owners who have showed up here tonight, tremendous people. Butch is here. Greg is here. Craig is here. My best people, my best friends, you guys, we are in-house, ready to fight for our gun rights. And hey, they're not going to let us do it tonight, not in committee. Join Minnesota Gun Rights. We are the organization, you and me, the members and supporters of Minnesota Gun Rights, we are the organization who is not willing to compromise on your freedom. Not willing to compromise. And tonight only, they are punishing you, punishing gun owners. How dare you tell them what to do? How dare you tell them how to vote? How dare you voice your opposition to this gun control? How dare you not kiss their butts? Well, they don't call Minnesota the California of the Midwest for no reason. This place is wedged full of corruption of the highest order. And tonight, it's totally being perpetrated by the Republicans. Kurt Daudt, Paul Gazelka, Brian Johnson, and every other member of that committee who knew that Minnesota Gun Rights was going to be here to testify against this. Oh, but we're going to make sure Minnesota Gun Rights doesn't get into the room. That's what they're going to do. They're going to make sure Minnesota Gun Rights doesn't get into the room. It just outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Outrageous. Go to joinmgr.com. If you haven't, if you're not a member, go to joinmgr.com, because at the end of the day, guys, it's never been about kissing these people's butts, because doing that has never gained gun owners a single thing. Never gained us a thing. You know what it does? Pressure, political pain. Political pain. That is what Minnesota Gun Rights is all about. Help us bring pain down on top of these crooked politicians. Politicians of the highest order. This is the type of stuff that Donald Trump knew existed a long time ago. This is why the Democrats attack people like Donald Trump and the Republicans attack people like Donald Trump. Because he knows that both of these parties are corrupt and attacking the best people, the best citizens of America. And they won't let us in. They won't let us in the room. They'll have somebody, people are saying, get us, someone has to stop you from getting in. They're going to have guards at the door. We'll walk up to the door and say, hey, can I get in? They'll say, where's your ticket? I'll say, I don't have a ticket. They'll say, well, you can't get in. No ticket, you can't enter, period. If you don't have a ticket, you can't get in. And even if I had a ticket into the room, I'm not on Kurt Daudt's priority list. I'm not on Paul Gazelka's priority list. I don't have the priority to speak. So even if I got in the room, I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak. They won't let Minnesota gun rights members and supporters talk. People are asking why? Why? Because we tell the truth. Because we don't play the game. See, that's the thing, guys. There's a game that happens here every day. Everybody knows it. The lawmakers, the Democrats, the Republicans, the lobbyists, these other organizations, Little Robbie with the Gun Owners Caucus, there is a game that's played here every day, and everybody knows how the game is played, and everybody obeys the rules. As long as you obey their rules, you get a seat at the table. You get a seat at the table. Minnesota gun rights, look, if the rules advanced stand your ground law or constitutional carry, we do it. But they don't. If the rules would stop gun control, we do it. But they don't. That is why Minnesota has turned into the crapshoot that it is, thanks to these politicians. So Minnesota gun rights doesn't play by their rules. And so they are punishing the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights for not kissing the ring. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing these legislators want more than to maintain their desperate hold on the levers of power. Because they have a total political agenda. And the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. The Democrats, the Republicans, the lobbyists, the fake news media, they're all playing the game. And they will not let Minnesota gun rights in the room. They will not let us testify against this gun control. And Chris said it. There's not a single legislator in this entire building they're all standing up there. You guys can't see it. Oh, maybe you can. There's all these rails, and there's people all up there. They're filming us. They're taking pictures of us. There's not a single legislator in this building with a pair of balls to fight for the freedom that we so deeply love. They don't have the spine. They don't have the spine. They don't have the conviction. They don't breathe freedom as we breathe freedom. They don't care about our Constitution. They don't care about our rights. They don't care about our freedom. They couldn't care less what our founding fathers have to say. These people are the worst sort. They're the slick-haired, suit-and-tied politicians here sticking a knife in your back every minute of every day. And tonight, they're doing it in massive form. Steve says Minnesota is too passive-aggressive when this kind of crap happens. It's true. It's true. Scott says, walk yourself into the room right now. The room's locked. The room's locked. It's not time for the committee. When time for the committee comes, they'll open the door. They'll let the ticketed people in there, and then the security guards will stand there and block the door. And if you don't have a ticket, you don't get in. Todd says, so why join Minnesota gun rights if you're not able to share our voice? How am I supposed to... Todd, I've seen you on here before, and I know you're a troll, But that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard in all my days. Why join you guys? You're only fighting for our gun rights. Let's go join the guys who have a seat at the table, who have sold their souls for a seat at the table. Get out of here, Todd. Get out of here. If you don't love freedom, leave. Unbelievable. Somebody's holding a sign. Hi, another nameless, faceless person who doesn't have the courage. Who doesn't have the courage. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys, join us. Join Minnesota Gun Rights. Go to joinmgr.com. If you're already a member, click on the link on top of this video. A link in the comments section. Chris, throw a link in there. Make a contribution. Help us fight. The fact of the matter is, guys, we can't get in the room tonight because we're not willing to compromise. We have never sold you out. We've never sold you out. How you doing, man? He's a friend. He's a good guy. Yes, we do. Yeah. Well, if you know anybody around here, I just want to let you know they're not letting us in the room tonight. So, no Minnesota Gun Rights speaking on behalf of gun owners. So, Livingston, right?
Yep. Very good.
Yeah. I don't forget. Sorry?
I go to all the events.
Yeah, I got a couple hundred people on here, so I'll have to catch up with you in a second here.
It's okay. I'll be around.
Sounds good. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys, there you have it. There you have it. They're not going to do anything for us. It's going to be a great big dog and pony show. Gun owners are going to get stabbed in the back. And everybody's going to look good. The Democrats will look good. The Republicans will look good. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they're going to look real good. But, hey, how you doing?
Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely, my pleasure. They're barring us from the room tonight. They're not going to let us testify against the gun control bills. So that's what happens when you don't compromise, I guess. So,
Yeah. Well,
yep. There we have it. There we have it. So I got a couple hundred people. I'm going to chat with these guys here for a little bit more. Connie says, I'm a member. Paul says the Hollywood Roadhouse loves you. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here's the deal, guys. They may not be letting us in the room, but the truth is always the same. We are. You and me are the giant 2,000-pound gorillas in the room that these people cannot escape. Do you know that just in the last 48 hours, you guys sent in more than 35,000 emails in total to the House Public Safety Committee? 35,000 emails into the House Public Safety Committee in the last 48 hours. 35,000 emails. But hey, we don't get to talk. We don't get to talk. Corrupt, crooked politicians. But don't you know, Minnesota gun rights, they're a scam. They're a scam, don't you know? They don't even show up and testify against gun control bills. You guys have been hammering this building with your pressure this entire session long. Nobody has hit harder than the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. Nobody. And that is the reason anti-gunners are everywhere. They're all walking by, they're taking pictures, they're running off, they're hiding. Guys, share this video, get this information out there. I'll have more updates for you later. Tomorrow, this fight kicks off again. Tomorrow we hammer. Tomorrow we hammer on these people, everything we've got. No apologies, no backing down, no running away, period. Period. And every single one of these politicians is on the list. Every single one. If you think you get to walk away from this unscathed, if you think that we will not target you in your districts at election time for this absolute betrayal, you're wrong. More trolls, more trolls. Guys, we're going to have action items very soon, okay? We're going to have action items, people you can call, people you can email to put the heat on these people very, very soon. For right now, I just had to make sure you got the facts, you got the information. So anybody who's watching this tonight, when you're sitting there going, well, where's Ben Dorr? Where's Minnesota gun rights? Well, you can thank the Republicans, you can thank these backstabbing rhinos for barring us from the room. Barring us from the room. Oh, and I guess you can thank Robbie and Brian. I guess you can thank the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus for being good enough lapdogs to get a seat at the table. Good enough lapdogs. Hey, if you're willing to kiss the politicians' backsides, you get a seat at the table. It's how this works. If you're willing to play their game, you get a seat at the table. That's how this works. If you are willing to protect them when they attack our gun rights, you get a seat at the table. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Scott says, what's the reason for blocking the doors, preventing a riotous protest? I don't know. They keep it locked up. Nobody's allowed in except for staff. They prepare the room for these committee hearings, and then when it comes time for the committee, everybody who has a ticket gets let into the room. Those who don't have to stand there. This is the crooked politics of Minnesota. This is what we have been pulling the curtain back on this whole time. This is what we've been exposing this entire time. See a lot of trolls on here tonight. Guys, this is a very sad attack on our rights, on our freedoms, on our ability as individuals. This is supposed to be a public hearing. The public. See, because gun owners, a lot of gun owners have been messaging me, messaging Minnesota Gun Rights, phone calls, emails, Facebook messages over the last 2 weeks saying, how do I get on there? How do I get on the list? And I've been telling them exactly how this works. Exactly how this works. And so all these gun owners who've been signing up to testify don't get to join. For those of you just hopping on here, a lot of people don't know what's going on right now. I set up weeks in advance to testify in this committee on your behalf, on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota Gun Rights. I set up in advance to testify. They said, you're good to go. I got total clearance. They told me you were the first person to ask us to put your name in to testify. So we will honor that. We will honor that when you come to testify. I said, sounds good. But they said, well, it's going to be a ticketed event. It's going to be a ticketed event. So you got to get a ticket. I said, okay, what happens if, I miss a ticket? I don't get the ticket. What happens if I don't get a ticket? And he said, this is Jason Chavez. This is the committee chair's, legislative assistant. He said, you just shoot me an email You just shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get in the room, even if you don't have a ticket, because you were the first person to message us, to communicate with us, and request to speak on these bills. So sounds good. So I showed up here today 4 hours before the committee was supposed to start, talked to Sergeant at Arms, good guy, and I said, all right, hey, where do I get a ticket from? And he said, oh, those tickets are gone. So what do you mean tickets are gone? He said, oh, we disseminated those. I said, okay, I'm 4 hours in advance of the committee. Where'd they go? He said, well, we gave half of the tickets to the Democrats, half of the tickets to the Republicans, and they get to decide who gets to come into the room. So, well, that's not good. That's not good. So I thought, well, you know, at least Jason Chavez, at least this guy's the chair's legislative assistant. He said, even if there's not a ticket, I can get you into the room. I can get you into the room and you can come testify. So, oh, good. Good news. So I pulled out my phone to shoot this guy an email and let him know, hey, I wasn't able to get a ticket for some reason. I wasn't able to get a ticket. They gave him away to people who don't like us. But I pulled out my phone and there was an email from Jamal Lundy, who is the administrator for the House Public Safety Committee, and he told me that the politicians are prioritizing who gets to speak. The politicians are deciding which of their friends gets to testify. And guess what? I'm not one of their friends. These politicians don't like me. I'm not one of their friends. And so I didn't get a seat at their table. And so they have barred Minnesota gun rights. We cannot get tickets into the room, and they will not let you and me speak against red flag gun seizure legislation and universal gun registration. The Republicans did this. They did this. The Republicans, Kurt Daudt and Paul Gazelka decided to make sure Minnesota gun rights did not get to testify. You and I, we can't testify. Only if you're friends with legislators, only if you're really buddy-buddy with politicians, then you get to speak. If you're not friends with politicians, you don't get to speak. And that's what happened here. And Jamal Lundy told me, again, he's the House Public Safety Administrator. He said, this setup, this decision was totally at the request of the minority party. The Republicans are the minority in the House. This was a request specifically designed to keep you and me out of the room. You and I are not allowed to get in the room to oppose this legislation. Kurt Daudt, Paul Gazelka, Brian Johnson, and the rest of these rhinos are the ones keeping the largest gun rights organization out of this committee. Griffin says, barring you from testifying is a violation of your First Amendment right. I say you sue them. Well, that's probably not a bad idea. Unbelievable. That's exactly what this is. It's an absolute slap in the face of law-abiding gun owners, and they've got this structure just so. Chris says, that's right, our government is run by criminals who do not care about us. Yeah, they don't care. They do not care about you. They don't care. Because again, this was not a Democrat hit. This was not a Democrat hit. It's not the Democrats trying to stop Minnesota gun rights from opposing this legislation. It's Kurt Daudt. It's Paul Gazelka. It is the Republicans who have done this to make sure we weren't able to speak the truth Please join. Join Minnesota Gun Rights. Help us fight. Christopher Hiller says, who will give you a voice on the chamber floor? Guys, this is how this works. The voice of Minnesota Gun Rights is not me. It is the tens and hundreds of thousands of supporters of Minnesota Gun Rights. Your phone calls, your emails, your Facebook messages, your tweets, your in-person visits, your activism. That forces people these politicians to do the things they don't want to do. Because guys, kissing their backsides won't get us anywhere. I could be their best friend. I could be their best friend. But that means stabbing you in the back. That means selling my soul. That means flushing our gun rights down the drain. And for anybody who doesn't know, these are the exact same people who killed Stand Your Ground law for the last 4 years. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Kurt Daudt was Speaker of the House. Brian Johnson was chair of the House Public Safety Committee last year. These people hate us because we pressure them to pass Stand Your Ground law. And they don't like it. They don't like it. And now they're punishing gun owners for standing up for their freedoms. Mark says this is a messed up shit. That's exactly what this is. Todd, it's down one floor on the other side of the building, and there's no reception over there. So calm down and listen. Calm down and listen. Paul wants to know if I can read the proposed gun bills. Sure. The first gun bill was House File 8. That was introduced by Representative Dave Pinto. And that's universal gun registration. That's what's being heard first. The second bill, and that's a full-blown registry. That's every firearms transfer goes through a background check. If you loan a buddy a firearm to go on a hunting trip, if you don't transfer that firearm into his name or run a background check, you both become felons. That's how this bill works. The second bill is House File 9, introduced by Representative Ruth Richardson. It's red flag gun seizures, allowing people to call you in with no evidence, no day in court, no arrest, no indictment, no conviction. They can just call you in, Paul, and say, Paul's crazy. I think he's dangerous. And then they can come to your house, kick your door in, seize your firearms. Seize your firearms. That's what's happening tonight. These are the bills they're working on. These are the bills that are being heard and voted on tonight. And they will not let you and me in the room. Because don't you guys know? This is the people's house. People's house. Sure it is. Sure it is. No. They wanted the committee hearings to happen here so they could control who gets in the room. You see, if it was in a gymnasium, like they wanted it to be in Edina, if it was going to be at the Hopkins High School like they were talking about, well, then everybody would have been in the room. Everybody would have been in the room, and they didn't want that. The Republicans didn't want that. They tried to make it all, the Democrats are doing all this. No, the Republicans didn't want Minnesota gun rights in the room. So guys, for right now, join up, stand with us, fight with us. Go to joinmgr.com if you're not already a member. And understand that the reason this is happening right now is because we are not willing to violate our most sacred beliefs. We're not willing to violate your trust in us. We are not willing to violate your Second Amendment rights. And since that's what these politicians do all day, every day, that kind of makes us like oil and water. We don't mix well with politicians. Not backstabbing liars, anyway. And that's what's happening here tonight. Bob Lewis says, it's all been premeditated by the good old boys club. You hit that nail right on the head, Bob. 100%. This whole thing was set up long in advance. And then bam, an hour before I show up here, I didn't check my email. I was driving. An hour before I show up here, I get an email from the committee administrator saying, you don't get to speak. You don't get to speak. Let's see here. Matt, can you pull up that screenshot? Guys, I'm going to read you that email again real quick, and we'll post it. Guys, you know, we didn't plan this. So we're giving you what we got as we have it. We can give you more information, who to call, yada, yada. We'll show you these screenshots, the whole thing. Be good to go. But we can't do it right now. We'll do it a little bit later. Here it is. This email showed up at 1:46. So I was on the road. It says, Ben, the chair has allocated equal amounts of time to both sides. For the proponent side, we will be hearing speakers that the author has prioritized. So Dave Pinto's going to speak first, and then the anti-gunners, they're going to speak next because they are prioritized. With the remaining time available, we will hear proponents at a first-come, first-served basis. Okay? On the opponent side, again, that's us, we will be hearing speakers that the minority has prioritized. So only those people that have been prioritized by the politicians get to speak. With the remaining time available, we will hear proponents at a first-come, first-served basis. There will be no remaining time. This is a packed-out house, and there are no tickets into the room. It says this is in keeping with what has been done in the past and is at the request of the minority. So the Republicans asked for this. And I went, oh, geez, this is not good news. But then he says, Ben, as I stated in the committee, the committee will hear your testimony first. Thank you for contacting our committee, Jamal Lundy. And I went, oh, good. Whew. At least my, getting hold of them 2.5 weeks ago or whatever it was, at least that was enough to get me on the list. At least I still get to testify on behalf of gun owners. And then I see another email sent only moments after, and it says, Ben, see the amended email below. And it is the exact same email he had sent me just before. And that last sentence was amended to say, Ben, as I stated, the committee will hear your testimony first after hearing from the minority priority testifiers. Thank you for contacting our committee. It's backwards because that's how it is here, but there's the bold and lettering right there. That bold, that was the edited, that was the amended part. So only after the minority priority testifiers speak will I get to testify. But they have all the tickets, so we can't even get in the room. So even if there was anybody, if there was any time left, we wouldn't be able to speak anyway because they have all the tickets and they won't let you in the room if you're not one of their buddies. Cheryl says, where do we go to join? Go to joinmgr.com. Joinmgr.com. I think there's a link linked on top of this video and in the comments section. Go to joinmgr.com. Stand with us. We are the only organization who is not down here selling you out. We are the only organization who has not been willing to take the easy path. And let me tell you, it is so easy. It is so easy to be loved by politicians. It is so easy to be the lobbyist that everybody thinks is wonderful. It is so easy. But we are the only organization, you and me, we're the only organization who's not been willing to come down here, take the easy path, and kiss these politicians' backsides. Josh says, can you explain how the Gun Owners Caucus got in again? Yeah, because they're totally in bed with all these politicians. They have been for a long, long, long time. In fact, we've been over this whole thing. Representative Jim Nash, who's on that committee, is on the board of directors of BrightPath. BrightPath is the business that is owned by Brian Strasser, who's the chair of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. So they're literally in business with politicians who are on this committee. Wonder how they got in the room, huh? Yeah. Now you know the answer. They've been protecting these politicians for years. When Kurt Daudt killed Stand Your Ground, a constitutional carry, these guys protected them. When Rod Skoy and Lyle Coonan voted against constitutional carry, these guys endorsed them. When Lion Scott Jensen sponsored universal gun registration last year, the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus endorsed him. When Minnesota Gun Rights exposed these anti-gun legislators, Rod Skoy and Lyle Coonan, Rob and Brian with the Gun Owners Caucus attacked us for exposing anti-gun Democrats who voted against constitutional carry. That's how they got in the room. They're willing to kiss the ring. They're willing to do whatever they got to do to get a seat at the table. And boy, do they got a big comfy seat with all those backstabbing politicians. Playing party to this whole thing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. For those of you just hopping on, again, they are barring Minnesota gun rights from testifying against these gun control bills in the House Public Safety Committee that is kicking off here in 25 minutes. Guys, you want me to try to get in? Should we try to get in committee here?
You just tried.
Well, we're going to do it on camera. We're going to do it on camera. Matt, you want to be my cameraman? Sure. All right, guys, we're going downstairs. We're going to see if we can get into the committee room, all right? We're going to try. Here we go. All right, we got this spun around. Matt, you just hold it. Follow me. Guys, if you can hear me all right, give me a heads up. Hope we don't lose reception. Reception's really bad. But we're going downstairs. We're going to find out. How you doing? Man, there's a lot of people here who don't like us. They don't like us. They don't like us even a little bit. Keep an eye on that camera. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I've been a little better. If you can hear me, let me know. I'm wearing a wireless mic, so let me know. I hope this doesn't break out. Keep the camera on me, Matt. Can you do that? Hi. How you doing?
What time did he finish?
Oh yeah. Well, they're No, they're not letting us in the committee room. They're not going to let us testify against the bills. So we're doing what we can do to get in here in a minute.
I also made at least some effort, but apparently all the tickets were given out well in advance of our arrival.
Yeah, it's more than that. I'll talk to you about it in a little bit. Oh, look. Everybody can get in. We're still rolling?
We're still rolling.
Good deal. Hi. Not too bad. So, are we still on? All right. So, a couple weeks ago, I got in contact with Jamal Lundy about testifying in this committee tonight. He said that put me on the top of the list to do that because I was the first person to request to testify. Now they're saying there's no tickets and that the minority party gets to decide who gets to testify.
Ticket to get in, we're just distributing it. So they've been given out already.
Right, again, Jamal Lundy and Jason Sanchez originally said that we'd be able to get right in regardless of a ticket if the tickets were gone.
We'll have to contact him. Yeah.
So you won't
have them come out, and we need them because otherwise we can't let anybody in without
That's
a
just
ticket.
that's what it is.
right. So we can't get in.
Even those that are testifying have tickets.
Well, I mean, so they distributed the tickets out to the legislature. Like the legislators got the tickets to distribute as they please. So if you're not friends with the legislator, how are you supposed to get a ticket to get in here? I mean, that's what's happened here. It wasn't like a table with tickets where I could.
They gave
right.
35 to one side and 35 to the other.
Right. Well, I'm part of one side, and I was here.
No idea how. I don't ask me, sir. I'm just elected.
I understand, Jim. I understand.
I wish I could help you out. Hi.
Well, I guess we're going to walk back out here. All right. Spin this back around. What's that? Oh. See, guys, here's one of these losers who likes to run around kissing politicians' backsides and runs around spreading lies. You're spreading lies. Nobody even knows you. Nobody even knows you. Here they all come. Everybody gets a seat. Everybody gets a seat but Minnesota gun rights. That's how this works. We've been barred from the room. They won't even let us testify. They won't let us testify. Yeah, they won't let Minnesota gun rights testify. Even though they told us 2 weeks ago that we were the first people to ask and we were going to be the first people on the list, they will not let me testify on behalf of Minnesota gun rights and our members and supporters. So they've structured it so that we can't get tickets, and the politicians, the Democrats decide who gets to speak for the Democrats, and the Republican legislators get to decide who speaks for the Republicans. So unless a legislator likes you enough or you've kissed enough backside, they won't let you sit down at the table and speak.
Glorious.
So Minnesota gun rights has been barred, and you know they're doing nothing but giving us the runaround, just a runaround. So you know that's what happens when you have a no compromise position. A no compromise. We're going to go back over here. We're going to go back over here. You see this, guys? The other organizations, they're running around here going, you're the group from Iowa. You're the scammers. You're the con artists. Share this video, by the way. It's not just the anti-gunners who are trying to run us out of here. There they are. Oh, you see all these people walking out. They will not let us testify. They will not let us testify. I'm a registered lobbyist with the state of Minnesota on this particular issue. This issue, gun rights. And they will not let me testify on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. They won't do it. They won't do it. So the legislators, they'll hide in there. The legislators, they'll hide all day. But these politicians and these other groups, hey, they all have a seat at the table, folks. Let's see here. Any other messages, Matt? It's hard to read all this. Hard to read all this. Jacob says, how is this legal? No idea. No idea. I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
To not go in, and Caleb Pasco went in and gassed up.
Oh, there's one of the gun owners caucus guys. There goes old Kevin Vick over there. He's got a seat. He's got a seat. Guys, we can't just walk in. We can't. They've got security guards at the door. You go in there, they're going to jump you. Not good. Not good. We can't walk in. We can't. Armed guards at the door. Armed guards at the door. Oh, there's a psycho. Guns kill children, they say. Guns kill children. We see how you vote. Yeah, so do we. So do we. So these people, they all have a seat. Everybody has a seat. Everybody has a seat at the table. Not the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. No, 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 no. You don't get to speak. Your voice doesn't get to be heard here today. You don't get to speak. Your voice has been muted by Kurt Daudt, Paul Gazelka, and the rest of these politicians. You get no voice. You get no voice. There you have it. There's the Moms Demand Action leader right there. Waltzing in the door. Moms Demand Action, they get in. Moms Demand Action gets in. They all get in. They've all got tickets. There's all the anti-gunners. They got their signs. They got their Moms Demand Action shirts. They got their Protect Minnesota. All the anti-gunners, they're all here. But Minnesota gun rights, we don't get a seat at the table. Registered lobbyists, registered on behalf of Minnesota gun rights to fight for the Second Amendment, but we don't get a seat. No seat at the table. No seat at the table. The commie mommies get in. Yes, they do. The commie mommies get in. What do we got here? Unreal. Unreal.
I think it was Capitol Police.
Guys, share this video. Join Minnesota gun rights. Here's the deal. We just haven't kissed the ring well enough. We haven't kissed the ring well enough. We haven't bowed down to enough politicians. We haven't begged them for our freedom. We haven't begged them to protect our rights. No. So we don't get a seat at the table. You guys, you don't get to voice your opinions on gun rights. You don't get to voice your opposition to this gun control. You don't get to. Because we're not cozy enough with legislators. We're not cozy enough with politicians. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Marnie says never kiss butt. Never. We totally agree. We totally agree. If you can still see us, let us know. What do we got here? What do we got here? Legislators? Anybody? No. The legislators, they're long in the room. They're hiding in the room a long time ago. They're hiding in the room a long time ago. Great big dog and pony show. Here's patriots. There's a patriot. There's a patriot. There's Dave. He's a patriot. These people are patriots. A lot of these people here, these anti-gunners, these politicians, these organizations are selling us down the river. Totally selling us out. And now they won't even let us in the room. They won't even let us testify against the two worst gun control bills that Minnesota has ever seen. I don't know what you guys think about that. We think it's bad news. We think it's unacceptable. We think it's unforgivable.
We're on TV.
Unreal. Unreal. We're going to swing back out over here. Well, guys, don't know what else there is to tell you. We're not going anywhere. And guys, we're going to keep the heat on. We're going to keep the pressure up. We're not backing down a tiny little bit. They can play their games. We refuse. Because the moment we start playing their games, we lose. And don't get me wrong. Don't forget for a moment, every single one of those people are going to watch this video. These legislators, I see some of them popping on and off. These people are going to watch this stuff. Their staff is watching this right now. They're all going to see it. They're going to see your reactions. They're going to see what you're talking. Don't think for a minute that your voice has been snuffed out here, because these people watch our Facebook page for everything that we do. JP says, just tuned in. What's going on? No, they won't let us in. They won't let us in. They have structured it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the support. They've structured it so that the legislators, the politicians, get to decide who goes in the room, who gets in the room. Well, the politicians, they don't like us. They don't like us very much because we hold their feet to the fire. And so they have barred Minnesota gun rights from the room. They will not give us access to the room. They won't do it. They won't do it. They won't do it. But the fact of the matter is, guys, we get our pound of flesh at election time. They can try to stifle our voice, to shut us up, and to try to render us ineffective. They can't. They can't. They absolutely cannot. They can't right now, and they won't ever. They won't ever. We will get our pound of flesh for this at election time, for everybody who stood here and let your voices get trampled, to shut you up. You don't get to talk. How dare you talk to those legislators that way? How dare you be disrespectful? How dare you not be nice to these politicians? And so they will punish you. They are punishing you. They are punishing you for standing up for your gun rights, and they will not let me testify on your behalf. They will not let Minnesota gun rights come into that room and testify against this gun control legislation. Oh, everybody else gets to. Everybody else gets to. These guys, everybody else. Everybody's in the room. Moms Demand Action's there. Protect Minnesota's in there. Everybody's in there. Not Minnesota gun rights. Nope. We get no seat at the table. Go grab our things from up there, please. Don't need anybody walking off with our stuff. Please share this video with your family, your friends. Click share right now. Put it on your Facebook pages. Make sure everybody sees it. This place is swarming with anti-gunners, anti-gun legislators, anti-gun activists, fake news media, and they told us weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, they said, Ben, you're the first person to ask. You're the first person to put your name in. We will make sure we honor that, and you'll be the first person to testify. That's what they told me 2 weeks ago. Today, at 2 o'clock, they sent me an email, and it says, let's see if I can pull it up. See if I can pull it up here. Find images. Here's the gallery. They sent me an email today, and it said that we have distributed the tickets. Half went to the Democrats, half went to the Republicans, and it is up to the legislators themselves. The legislators themselves, it's up to them to distribute the tickets, and they get to decide who speaks for or against this legislation. They get to decide. You don't get to decide, they do. They do. As you might imagine, they don't like us too much. Matt Davis says, sneak in. Can't. They got the whole thing roped off. They got security guards. Guys, this is the biggest hearing of the year. The biggest hearing of the year. And so they've got security here out the wazoo. They've got the door roped off. They've got staff standing there. They've got all this stuff. They're all standing there. You can't sneak in. You can't walk in. You can't run in. Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't let us in. Will not let us testify against this gun control legislation. Won't let us. Won't let us. Brian Yon says, just like politicians that changed the rules. Yeah, and we were told that this was all set up by the minority party. The Republicans requested this in order to keep Minnesota gun rights out of the room. Ah, Christine says, dress in dragon. Wear an orange shirt. That would probably get me in the room. Representative Munson, how you doing? So, we've been barred from the room. They've set it up so that the legislators get to decide who gets to speak and who doesn't, and Minnesota gun rights didn't make the cut. You have any idea how to fix that or get us in the room?
I'm not in the committee, but I can talk to Miller.
Well, that would be nice. If Representative Miller, hey, the committee told us that we were first in line. We were the first people to ask to speak in the committee, and we were assured of that until about 3 hours ago when we got an email and said, no, actually, it's all up to the committee members who gets to speak. So that's not much of a public hearing.
Anybody in the public should be able to testify. He's supposed to just send the information to the
I agree. Yeah, hold your signs up, guys. That's Ben Rust. He's one of the Gun Owners Caucus guys. Kissed enough tail to probably. You going to make it into the room today?
Nope, I'm not getting a ticket.
No, he didn't get a ticket into the room. All of his friends did, though. Well, we'd love to hear what Representative Miller has to say. If he can get us in the room, I would sure love to testify on behalf of the Second Amendment. Roll on, fellas. So you hear that? Maybe we can get in the room after all. Talk to a couple of, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Our gun rights are absolutely under attack. Absolutely. Unbelievable. I've never been better. Never been better. Guys, join Minnesota Gun Rights. Stand up with us. Don't apologize for fighting for your gun rights. Don't apologize for standing up for your Second Amendment rights. Never apologize. We're going to hop back up. We'll let you know what happens. We'll see if Tim Miller can get us into the room. He's on the committee, but I got a feeling, guys, Kurt Daudt decided this. These people decided this a long time ago to keep us out of the room. Getting a lot of messages. A lot of people wondering what's going on, what can we do? We're going to have action items for you. More stuff. Keep the heat on these guys. We're going to give you more updates. Very soon, we'll let you know what happens. Man, get your messages up. I can't read what these people. A lot of you guys are asking questions here. Yeah. Terry Ann says, very nice. I don't know. Hey, guys. Politicians, they say a lot of things. They say a lot of things, all right? Don't think for a minute here these people are fighting for us. This was a deliberate attack to get us out of the room so that we could not speak against these gun control bills on your behalf. Randy says this is supposed to be an open forum. It's a public building. We pay for that building, so we have every right to be there. It's 100% true. It's 100% true. It's 100% true. Oh, all that fighting they did, remember? Remember? Oh, we can't have it in that high school. We can't have it in that middle school. That's not the people's house. Guys, they wanted it in this building so they could control who gets to speak in the people's house. Who gets to speak in the people's house? They decide. They decide. That's how this was structured. The legislators themselves got to decide who got tickets into the room. The legislators themselves got to decide. How is that a public hearing? How is that the First Amendment being exercised? When the legislators themselves got to decide who got to speak. It's not. It's a dog and pony show. It's a dog and pony show. They get to decide. Alex says, keep up the fight. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Join Minnesota Gun Rights. The larger we get, the more these fools have to deal with us. The more power that you and I wield against these anti-gunners, the better. Again, guys, you and I, gun owners, Minnesota Gun Rights members and supporters, sent in 35,000 emails in total. Just in the last 48 hours, 35,000 emails went to the House Public Safety Committee against this gun control. Oh, but we don't get to talk. We don't get to talk. Nope. Unbelievable. I don't know who Sammy is or what they're asking here, but yes. Yeah, we had this set up weeks ago. The committee administrator said I was the first person to contact them and request to speak in this committee. I was the first person to do it. And he said, well, we don't really know exactly how we're going to have this structured, but we can promise you that no matter how it's structured, you were the first person to ask, you'll be the first person to talk. That's what they told us. And I followed up with them, and I followed up with them, and I followed up with them. And they said, you're good to go. You're totally good to go. Totally good to go. I said, all right, good. So I show up here. I go, ask for the tickets. Tickets are gone. It's like, hold on. It's just 4 hours. Yes, Tony, I have it in writing. It's all an email. This is 4 hours before the committee starts. I showed up here to get a ticket. Tickets were gone. Well, I asked them, where's the ticket? Where did the tickets go? They said, well, they've already been disseminated. I said, disseminated to who? For heaven's sake, I'm 4 hours early for this committee hearing here. You know, where on earth have these tickets gone? They said, well, we gave half of the tickets to the Democrats and half of the tickets to the Republicans. And so they get to decide who's going to testify on these bills. They get to decide. Not you. You don't get to decide. The politicians themselves get to decide who is going to testify for or against these bills. And guess what? These politicians don't like Minnesota gun rights because we're a no compromise gun rights organization. And so we don't get a ticket. We don't get in the room. The legislators have decided. The politicians have decided. They've decided. Guys, yeah, for those of you hopping on, we showed the emails, guys. We've already walked through this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Unreal. Unreal. Tony says it's time to replace Kurt Daudt. Time to replace Kurt Daudt. Dave says, where are all the MGR supporters? You need to be here. Family Feud isn't good. Get down here. Dave Peterson's here. My buddy Dave. He's here fighting on behalf of the Second Amendment. He's here making his voice heard. Well, as much as he can, considering he didn't get a ticket into the room either because he didn't make the cut. He hasn't kissed enough politicians' backsides. Yeah. Everything I've said is true. Everything I've said is true. Of all the emails, they said I was the first person and I would get to speak. And I have had, I bet I talked to Jason Sanchez, the public safety chairman's legislative assistant. I bet I talked to him on the phone maybe 10 times in the last maybe 7 days. We covered every angle of this. I asked him, you know, he said, get a ticket, get on in, you'll be the first person to speak. I said, sounds good. I said, I know that tickets can go really fast. That they can go really fast. I mean, if I'm on the list to speak, what happens if I don't get a ticket? You know, I said, I want to make sure I get in. He said, well, just show up really early and get a ticket. I said, okay, I'll do that. But he said, if you don't get a ticket though, he said, just shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. And he said, I'll have my laptop open during the committee hearing. He said, shoot me an email and I will come out and make sure you get in to speak. So, well, that sounds good. Well, I mean, at least then it's like, well, no matter what happens, I'm going to get to go in there and speak on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. And what happened? What happened? I got here and I went to go find where the tickets are. They said they've been taken or they've been disseminated. And I said, okay, who'd you give them to? Well, the Republicans. So what did I do? I pulled out my phone and thought, well, at least I can message Jason Sanchez. At least I can message Jason Sanchez. He said he'd get me in even without a ticket. But I got a message from the committee administrator. The committee administrator, Jamal Lundy. I got the email. I read it off to you guys like 3 times now. And I got an email from Jamal Lundy that came in just a couple hours ago. And he said, no. He said, maybe you can speak after all the committee people have spoken, after all of the speakers that the minority party has decided are going to speak. So all of these rhinos who hate Minnesota gun rights, they get to decide who speaks first, and then maybe at the end we'll have an open mic and the public can speak. Except they have all the tickets, so you can't even get in the room. So even if they open the mic up for public testimony, they have barred us from the room and kept all of the tickets for themselves and their friends and their pals and their buddies and their chummies. Unreal. Unreal. Unbelievable. Chris, just go ahead and ban Sammy. I don't know who she is, but she's pretty dumb. Just go ahead and ban her. Go ahead and ban her. Look, guys, I mean, if you want to go join the organization that has the seat at the table, if you like fake activism, if you like fake representation, then please, by all means, go and join. Go and join. But we are a no-compromise gun rights organization because we know what happens. We know what happens. When you compromise, you lose your freedom. You lose your freedom. Have no fear. Have no fear. We did enter written testimony. We did enter written testimony. Now that testimony against this legislation should be in every committee member's folder. Every committee member should have gotten that testimony. Should have gotten that testimony. And if they don't put that up on their website, if they don't log that as part of this, they're going to be in trouble. Matt, where's that paperwork? Find me that paperwork. You want to hear the written testimony, guys? I got some written testimony. Nope, the other one. Hold on to that. You want to hear the written testimony real quick? I'll make it short and sweet. Here's what was sent into them. This should be, unless they literally are just spawn of Satan, this should be in every single committee member's folder when they went into the room tonight, regardless, because you know what? We expect crap like this. We expect these people to stab us in the back. Here we go. This is the written testimony that we sent in prior to this hearing to be entered into the written record opposing this legislation. Here we go. Mr. Chair and members of the House Public Safety Committee, as law-abiding and gun-owning citizens throughout Minnesota know, gun control legislation such as House File 8 and House File 9 has no way of stopping or slowing crime or providing for an increase in public safety, and nor do we believe it is intended to do so. The reason is simple. Law-abiding and gun-owning citizens know that criminals, by definition, do not follow the rule of law because they are criminals. Instead, Minnesotans are keenly aware of what legislation like this truly represents, which was a direct attack on their natural right to self-defense and their specific right to keep and bear arms as recognized by the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, stripping us of our right to due process by passing a red flag law or forcing law-abiding citizens to register themselves like sex offenders by going through a government-mandated check in order to transfer a firearm to a close friend or relative won't stop a single criminal from committing a violent crime. Rather than insulting and attacking law-abiding gun owners by trying to advance an agenda of militant gun control, I strongly urge this body to use the power of this committee to advance the ability of the citizenry to defend themselves against and be a deterrent to crime by passing legislation such as Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry law. Because legislation like House File 8 and House File 9 is such an egregious violation of our Second Amendment rights and a slap in the face of Minnesota's best citizens, thousands of gun owners statewide have been mobilizing against it and will fight to stop it or get their political vengeance in the next elections. Gun owners are not asleep. They're activated, mobilized, organized, and watching very closely to the actions of this committee today. On behalf of the tens of thousands of Minnesota gun rights members and supporters across the state who are unable to represent themselves here today, I strongly insist that you abandon support for this and any other garbage gun control measures that may come before this committee. Sincerely, Ben Dorr, Director of Minnesota Gun Rights. That is the written testimony that was passed in, that we sent in advance of this committee, just in case. Just in case crap like this happens. And it did. And it did. Because Kurt Daudt and Paul Kozelka are desperate to maintain their control on power. They don't want the boat rocked, guys. They don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to know who's really fighting for them. They don't want you to know who's no compromise. They don't want the curtain pulled back on their rotten, rotten deals. At the end of the day, Kurt Daudt and Paul Kozelka and that committee, what they want you to know is Minnesota gun rights is bad. We're the scammers. Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they're the good guys. They're the ones who are really fighting on your behalf. And Republicans, they're all great. Kurt Daudt, Paul Gazelka, they're all, you know, Donald Trump in the flesh. They're all fighting for you. That's what they want you to know. That's what they think you should know. You don't deserve to know the truth. You don't deserve to have a seat at the table. You don't deserve to even speak in their committee rooms. They decide. If that sounds like a load of bullshit to you, like it does to me, please join Minnesota Gun Rights and help us pour on more pressure than we ever have before. Go to joinmgr.com, joinmgr.com. If you're already a member, make a contribution. Go to minnesotagunrights.org, minnesotagunrights.org. Help us fight back. Help us pour the pressure on. Help us pour the pressure on. Because these people in that floor down below me, they will sell you out so fast. They'd push their own mothers over this balcony if it got them reelected. That's how these people are. That's how these people are. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. It's corrupt. It's corrupt to the core. Corrupt to the core. And you know what, folks? It's the way it's been for a long, long time. It's the way it's been for a long, long time. I knew when I moved from down by Worthington, when I moved from Iowa to Northfield, Minnesota, I knew I was moving and going to be working in one of the biggest swamps anywhere around. And it's a swamp here. It's the worst kind of swamp. I knew it was going to be a swamp. And I knew that these people, this is why Minnesota goes downhill. This is why Minnesota goes downhill. Because these people, Republicans and Democrats, both of them, they're voting for every leftist, socialist, psycho agenda that you can imagine. Scott says, where'd Munson go? Good question. Apparently, he couldn't find us a ticket into the room. Guys, join up, stand with us, fight with us. If anything changes, we'll let you know. We'll let you know. But now you know the truth about what's happening tonight, the truth about Paul Gazelka, truth about Kurt Daudt, Brian Johnson, who's the lead of that House Public Safety Committee, the same Brian Johnson who held hearings on this gun control last year, the same Brian Johnson who ran as fast as he could away from Chris and I, Chris, who was our director at the time. We tried to ask him about stand your ground and constitutional carry, and he ran away from us. We got it on camera. Ran away from us. He ran away. And then 2 days later, they announced hearings on gun control, on universal gun registration and red flags last year. Brian Johnson, this guy is the lead Republican on this committee right now. And you wonder why he didn't want Minnesota gun rights in the room. Because we tell the truth. They don't like the truth. Stand with us. Help us not only fight for gun rights, but help us fight for truth. What's the truth worth to you? To me, it's worth everything. Everything. Our rights, our freedoms given to us by God, guaranteed by our Constitution. It's ours to defend for our posterity, for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. It's ours to defend. Ours. And these people hate you. They hate you. The only thing they like about you is your vote. If you would just vote for them every time and just shut up, you'd be the model citizen. That's all they want. Oh, if you disagree with them, oh, they'll push you over this balcony if they can get away with it. We believe in freedom. We believe in our Constitution. We believe in the truth. The truth. We tell the truth. We tell the truth. And they hate us for it. But I'll be damned if we come up here, if I come up here and stand here and lie to you just so that these soulless suits will love me. It'll never happen. Minnesota Gun Rights will never be that organization. Ever. Ever. And when you're being lied to, when you're being conned, when you're being stabbed in the back, we're going to tell you about it. Whether it's Democrats, Republicans, these other organizations, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're going to tell you. Even if it's uncomfortable, we're going to tell you the truth. If you like that, join us. Go to joinmgr.com. Sign up to become a member. Guys, we're going to have more updates. Got to get this information out there. Got to get it out there. We did everything that we were supposed to do. Everything that we were supposed to do in order to speak tonight. We did. And they turned around at the last moment and fired off a last-minute email and said, oh, by the way, you don't actually get to speak tonight. Ha ha ha. We did everything, and they won't do it. It's because these people, as we say, they're not fighters. They don't love freedom. They're summer soldiers. They're summer soldiers. They fight when it's easy, and they run when it's hard. They run when it's hard. They're sunshine patriots. Oh, they'll fight when it's beautiful. They'll fight when it's easy. But man, when it gets cold and the fight gets hard, they run. They run. And that are these people. These politicians. These politicians are running away right now. So guys, hey, we're going to get them. We're going to get them at election time. This is just, there's no scenario here where Minnesota Gun Rights doesn't have a plan to go forward. We weren't hanging everything on this committee hearing tonight. We weren't hanging it all on that. We've got a plan. We always have a plan. We always have a plan. All right? So we're not going anywhere. This isn't the end of it all. No, we have a plan, and we're going to fight back. We're going to fight back, and these legislators will be punished for stomping out the voice of Minnesota Gun Rights members and supporters in this committee hearing tonight. Betraying law-abiding gun owners. That's what happened. That's what's happening. We'll let you know what happens, guys. Tune back in for more updates soon. We'll let you know what happens. Stay tuned. We're going to do whatever we can do here, we're going to do. We're going to give you more updates, and you can know we're telling you the truth. Tell you the truth about what happens. Join up. Share this video with your family and friends. Share with everybody. Everybody needs to see that this is here. What's happening here is a symptom of the biggest problem. Right? They could have done this. They could have done this on any bill at any time. They could have done this at any time for any reason. What's happening here is just a picture of the corruption that's happening in Minnesota. And everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know. So share this video. Share it all over the place. Put it in the gun rights forums. Blast it across the internet. Send it to your family and friends if they care. If they care about rights, if they care about freedom, if they care about the truth, if they are concerned about the future of our Minnesota, they need to see what happened here tonight. This is what these people are willing to do to keep you from making your voice heard in this committee. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I love you. Thank you. You're the best people. You're the best there is. Share this video. Don't back down. Don't apologize, and don't ever think for a minute that the way to victory is to kiss these people's butts. It'll never happen. It'll never happen, not in a million years. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off. Share this video. God bless you, and I'll be back with more updates for you soon.